Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you're having a fantastic Monday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing I want to talk about today is Anthony Weiner is back in the news, potentially for the last time, although that is really up to Anthony at this point. And I say it like that because Anthony Weiner has just thrown away his chances like he has a surplus of them. I mean, if you want to see a glimpse into part of his downfall, the Weiner documentary it's amazing. Like, let's walk through this. In 2011, Weiner accidentally tweets out his Weiner pic. First he says it was hackers, and then on June 6, 2011, he starts crying. Said he had several inappropriate online relationships with women, says he won't resign, he and his wife are not separating, and then 3 days later it's announced that his wife is pregnant. Soon after, Weiner says, I'm gonna pursue treatment, I need to be a healthier person, I will ask for a short leave from Congress. The next day, TMZ posts more pictures that seem to be him in a locker room, and a few days later, he resigns, he apologizes. Then, 2 years later, thinking it's been long enough, he decides, I'm going to run to be the mayor of New York City. About a month after, a gossip website posted screenshots of what appeared to be a sexually explicit conversation between Anthony Weiner and a woman. Well, some people were hoping to dismiss this as text that happened before his resignation. You know, this was part of the thing that he was sorry for. Weiner said some of the chats did take place after his resignation, so he just kept doing it. He then loses the race, he comes in 5th place, but hey, at the least, what you could say is that he at least has his family, he has his wife. Well, in 2016, his wife announces that they are going to separate after once again. New reports surface that Anthony Weiner sent sexually suggestive photos again. And you might remember those photos because right there in the picture in the same bed was his sleeping son. And the most recent update about Anthony Weiner is that today he has been sentenced to 21 months in federal prison. This because it turned out that one of the people he was sexting with was a 15-year-old girl. Reportedly, this started January 2016. Weiner reportedly sent this 15-year-old girl pornography, had her touch herself on Snapchat and Skype, before handing down the sentence. Judge Denise Coates saying, "This is a serious crime that deserves serious punishment," adding the victim was a minor, she was a victim, and she is entitled to the law's full protection. And finally stating that this sentence was an opportunity to make a statement that could protect other minors. And Weiner said in a statement, "I have a disease, but I do not have an excuse. If I had done the right thing, I would not be standing before you today. The crime I committed was my rock bottom. I was a very sick man for a very long time." And the thing is, Anthony Weiner is pretty lucky here. He faced up to 10 years with his guilty plea. His lawyers wanted probation. Luckily for him, the prosecution only wanted 2 years. The judge seemingly agreed, and we are where we are today. And so that might be the end of the Anthony Weiner story. And personally, I'm just left putting my hands up in the air because I don't know what to say about this. I mean, just looking at the timeline, it kind of feels like he was just like, how can I fuck up more? Oh, what if she was 15? I don't know, it's just disgusting and sad to me, but let me know what you think. But from there, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome, brought to you by the D Brand Grip. And on top of them being a fantastic sponsor with a fantastic product, I really, this is not part of my scripted read. I do want to give some love to D Brand because when we were first hit by demonetization, they were the first company to say, how can we help? When I first announced that the Philip DeFranco Show was going solo, they said, hey, we're not going to need spots for a while, but let's sign on for a big deal. We want to support what you're doing, we want to help, so just much love to them. And with them today, they have a brand new product coming out soon. I can't tell you a lot about it, but they just released a crazy product release trailer. I got a peek at it last night. If you want to check it out, and also if you want to give them some love for supporting the show, link to that video down below. And the first bit of awesome today is that there are only 2 days left to vote for the Streamy Show of the Year, which means that as of tomorrow, I will stop telling you to go to votedefranco.com and tweet out that link, hashtag DeFranco Show for Streamies. Also, and probably most importantly, go to this tweet. I'm linking it in the top of the description and retweet it. 1, because each retweet counts as a vote, and 2, because if it gets to 50,000 retweets, I will do the thing that I've been asked to do for about 4 years now and I've said no to. Also, as an aside, the reason I've been pushing so heavily for this fan vote, well, there's 2 reasons. 1, I had a feeling, and it was confirmed last night, that we were not going to win Best News and Culture Show. That actually went to the Young Turks. The official voting body decided that, and we kind of figured the only way that we had a chance was the fan vote this year. And 2, this is most likely the last time that I'm going to be ever pushing for a fan vote thing because this is fucking annoying. Let's win it. Then, in much lighter awesome, unless you think about what the story really tells, we got a Blade Runner 2049 behind the scenes video. We also got a Pennywise featurette for It. We got a brand new trailer for Pitch Perfect 3 that you can watch. And finally, we have an oh my god fantastic looking trailer for 1922. It's a movie on Netflix based on the Stephen King novella. Oh, it just looks like it's gonna make us feel some things. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. And then let's talk about version 3.0 of the Trump travel ban. Trump and his administration announced this last night, but before we jump into that, let's jump through 1.0 and 2.0. So version 1.0 comes January 2017. Trump has just taken office, and this ban bars entry to the United States for 90 days for anyone from Iraq, Iran, Syria, Yemen, Libya, Sudan, and Somalia. This also bans Syrian refugees indefinitely and would delay refugee settlements for 120 days. And the wording of the ban made it so that even permanent residents of the United States from those countries wouldn't be allowed back if they traveled overseas. It also gave preference to religious minorities in those countries to be refugees refugees after the first 90 days. And so many saw this as pro-Christian, anti-Muslim. But soon after, a federal judge blocked the ban, and later courts held that block. And then for version 2.0, we jumped to March, where there was a series of key changes. First up, we saw Iraq removed from the list of banned countries. Secondly, we saw the indefinite ban on Syrian refugees removed. And 3, there was clarification that if you were a legal U.S. permanent resident, you were allowed in the United States regardless of your country of origin. So essentially, if you were born in Iran, but if you were in the United States, you had a green card, under 2.0, you were definitively allowed back. And so travel ban 2.0 was supposed to start March 16th, but then was quickly blocked. This by judges in Hawaii and Maryland. But then in June, the Supreme Court unanimously allowed a temporary ban to take place. And this partial ban applied only to refugees and travelers who didn't have a, quote, bona fide relationship to a person or entity in the United States. Then you might remember there was that big debate on what is a, quote, bona fide relationship. Under the first explanation, grandparents didn't count, but they later would be. So that was put into place, and that was set to expire October 18th. So then, as we learned Sunday, we got travel ban 3.0. Trump tweeting, "Making America safe is my #1 priority. We will not admit those into our country we cannot safely vet." Then linking to the White House announcement page. So what changes did we see? Well, first, the list of countries included has been updated. The ban now applies to Chad, Iran, Libya, North Korea, Somalia, Syria, Venezuela, and Yemen. So essentially, Sudan was removed from the list, and Venezuela and North Korea were added. And the extent of the bans also vary from country to country. For North Korea and Syria, all non-diplomatic entry is suspended. Chad, Yemen, and Libya, immigration suspended. Also, non-immigrants on certain business and tourist visas suspended. Somalia, immigration suspended. Non-immigrants to go through increased screening and vetting requirements. Iran, all non-diplomatic entry suspended, although there is an exception here for valid student and exchange visitor visas. This, though, with increased screening and vetting. And for Venezuela, certain government officials and their families on tourist and business visas are suspended. Version 3.0 also allows U.S. consulate and embassies to waive the restrictions on a case-by-case basis. This if denying the visa would cause, quote, undue hardship on the foreign national. They'll also reportedly have to prove that they aren't a threat to U.S. national security. And exceptions can also include having, quote, significant contacts within the U.S. and having, quote, significant business or professional obligations in the U.S. All of this reportedly takes effect October 18th, and unlike the last ban, these are indefinite. And where we are today on this, we have Acting Department of Homeland Security Secretary Elaine Duke saying, "The restrictions announced are tough and tailored, and they send a message to foreign governments that they must work with us to enhance security." But in opposition to this travel ban, we see Anthony Romero of the ACLU saying, "6 of President Trump's targeted countries are Muslim." The fact that Trump has added North Korea with few visitors to the U.S. and a few government officials from Venezuela doesn't obfuscate the real fact that the administration order is still a Muslim ban. Trump's original sin of targeting Muslims cannot be cured by throwing other countries onto his enemies list. And as far as will this actually go into effect, well, right now the Supreme Court is set to hear the legality on these travel bans on October 12th. So just a few days from when it's supposed to take effect, but over 2 weeks from now. And the questions I want to pass off to you around this story: 1, what do you think about this new travel ban in general? But also 2, what do you think about the argument of the inclusion of North Korea and Venezuela here? Do you feel like they were just included so people couldn't say this was a straight out Muslim ban, or no, you think that there was a legitimate reason behind it? I'd love to know what you're thinking here. And then let's talk about the heavily requested Donald Trump versus the NFL news. So all of this starts on Friday. Donald Trump is speaking at a rally, and then he puts the NFL in his sights.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, "Get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired." When people like yourselves turn on television and you see those people taking the knee when they're playing our great national anthem, the only thing you could do better is, if you see it, even if it's one player, leave the stadium. I guarantee things will stop.
So he calls for athletes taking a knee during the national anthem to be fired, and also calls somewhat for a boycott. Now, for those that don't sports, what he's talking about is a situation that started with Colin Kaepernick last year. Kaepernick, who at the time was a quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, said, "I'm not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color. To me, this is bigger than football, and it would be selfish on my part to look the other way. There are bodies in the streets and people getting paid to leave and getting away with murder." And when this all went down, there was a lot of outrage, but there was still a lot of people supporting him. But we fast forward to today, and he currently does not have a job. He's not a quarterback in the NFL right now, starting or backup. A lot of people have said that this proves that the NFL is racist. Others saying the NFL is trying to stop his movement. And on this note, I want to throw my opinion into this story for a moment. I do agree that part of the reason that Kaepernick is not even a backup does have to do with teams not wanting to deal with this. But I don't think the teams not picking him up shows that they're racist. I think they just don't want to deal with the circus. We've talked about this equation in the past for different stories around sports. Teams in the NFL just want to win games, so anything that takes away from the work, the sport, they don't want to deal with. It ends up becoming an equation of how much shit are we going to have to deal with versus how good are you. I think one of the best situations to compare the Kaepernick situation to is the Tebow situation. Tim Tebow, one of the nicest guys in sports, a pretty decent quarterback, couldn't hold on to a job because of the spectacle around him. Was he a great quarterback? Only according to my friends who are Gator fans. He was okay, he had moments. Technically, he has as many playoff wins as Tony Romo. But everywhere he went, there was a circus around him, and I know that there are those sites, the Washington Post has this whole site dedicated to how good is Kaepernick compared to the other starting quarterback. And that page is incredibly misleading. You're talking talking about Kaepernick, a quarterback that last year got one win, and it was against the Rams, and not this year's Rams, but like the shitty Rams, and they won by 1 point. So I just wanted to comment on that, but Trump was not done. In addition to his comments at the rally and later his tweets about the NFL, he took aim at the Golden State Warriors. So he jumped sports from the NFL to the NBA. Trump saying on Twitter, "Going to the White House is considered a great honor for a championship team. Stephen Curry is hesitating, therefore invitation is withdrawn." To which many people responded, "What are you talking about? Steph Curry said he didn't want to go. How are you going to uninvite someone after you invited them and they said, nah, I'm good?" One of the largest responses to this came from LeBron James, who tweeted, "You bum, Steph Curry already said he ain't going. Therefore ain't no invite. Going to the White House was a great honor until you showed up." And he later said on video,
"And now it's even hitting more home for me now, even more because he's now using sports as the platform to try to divide us. And we all know how much sports brings us together."
And specifically on the note of invitation withdrawn, the whole hesitating thing, at the time Trump tweeted, it looked like the Golden State Warriors had not made an official decision, but Steph Curry wasn't hesitating. He said he didn't want to go. And on the Warriors Media Day on Friday, he said he didn't want to go and he gave his reason.
By acting and not going, hopefully that will inspire some change when it comes to what we tolerate in this country and what is accepted and what we turn a blind eye to.
And around the not going versus going, I saw some interesting debate. I saw a lot of people happy that he wasn't going, but I also saw a lot of people saying, well, if he really wants to express his displeasure, why not go to the White House with this invite and bring your concerns directly to the man? But I think then you'd still have people saying that it was disrespectful to go to the White House and make a scene. And then on the other end, you'd have other people angry that by even going, you're accepting him, you're tolerating him, which appears as anything but the sentiment Steph Curry wants out there. So there was that, but then back to the NFL, because like I said, Trump kept tweeting about the NFL, tweeting if a player wants the privilege of making millions of dollars in the NFL or other leagues, he or she should not be allowed to disrespect our great American flag or country and should stand for the national anthem. If not, you're fired, find something else to do. We then saw NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell release a statement saying the NFL and our players are at our best when we help create a sense of unity in our country and our culture. There is no better example than the amazing response from our clubs and players to the terrible natural disasters we've experienced over the last month. Divisive comments like these demonstrate an unfortunate lack of respect for the NFL, our great game, and all our players, and a failure to understand the overwhelming force of good our clubs and players represent in our communities. Trump then responded, Roger Goodell of NFL just put out a statement trying to justify the total disrespect certain players show to our country. Tell them to stand. Trump then continued on Sunday, tweeting, if NFL fans refuse to go to games until players stop disrespecting our flag and country, you will see change take place fast. Fire or suspend. NFL attendance and ratings are way down. Boring games, yes, but many stay away because they love our country. League should back United States. And this whole situation led to several things happening. In response to Trump, hashtag take the knee began to trend. On game day, instead of just seeing a select few taking a knee or sitting down, we saw around 200 do so. Starting off early, we saw the Baltimore Ravens, Jaguars knelt or locking arms in protest, including coaches and owners. We saw many players from the Bears, Broncos, Browns, Eagles, and Patriots also doing this. The Pittsburgh Steelers stayed in their locker room except for one player, that being Army veteran Alejandro Villanueva. He stood outside of the tunnel with his hand over his heart during the national anthem. And a big note there is the support around Villanueva has surged. Many rallying around him as a great example that we are supposed to stand and respect the flag. And over the past 24 hours, his gear has been the most sold product in the NFL. Also, as far as why the Steelers didn't even come out for the anthem, Coach Mike Tomlin said,
we're not going to let divisive times or divisive individuals affect our agenda. This collection of men, we're chasing something here in 2017, and we're not going to play politics.
So essentially what Mike Tomlin was saying here is that they wanted to Taylor Swift it. They wanted to remove themselves from the narrative, which of course everyone will see still as a move. The Seahawks and Titans also followed suit, staying in their locker room. And there are more and more stories like this, you get the point. And in addition to the players I mentioned and others who I didn't even get to talk about yet, one of the biggest stories around this were around owners. NFL owners who had actually donated to Donald Trump in the 7-figure range. The Jaguars and Redskin owners locking arms with their players. The owner of the Houston Texans calling Trump's comments divisive and counterproductive. Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, a personal friend of Donald Trump, said he was deeply disappointed by his tone. This morning, even Tom Brady chimed in, saying, I certainly disagree with what he said. I thought it was just divisive. And I do want to point out, it's not like this is a one-sided thing that everyone was against Donald Trump here. I mean, hashtag boycott NFL was trending. At games, you had parts of audiences booing when people were kneeling. But I also think part of this stems from confusion around why people are kneeling. Obviously, this whole movement started around the police treatment of minorities. Kaepernick talking about the oppression of people of color. And there are those that are both for and against the kneeling that say that is what this is still about. But you also had others, and this is how I personally understood it, that are saying that the kneeling is actually about Trump. We had a president that talked about condemning the KKK like it was on a checklist. But when it comes to some athletes who are kneeling in a football game, he went on a 3-day rant calling for those that are using their constitutionally given right for freedom of expression, freedom of speech to be fired. Defensive star Von Miller saying, "We felt like President Trump's speech was an assault on our most cherished right, freedom of speech." Bills linebacker Lorenzo Alexander saying, "Me taking a knee doesn't change the fact that I support our military. I'm a patriot and I love my country. But I also recognize that there are some social injustices in this country, and today I wanted to take a knee in support of my brothers who have been doing it." And then in walked in another sport on this topic, and that was NASCAR. Several NASCAR team owners saying on Sunday they would not allow anyone to take a knee during the national anthem. Former NASCAR champions Richard Petty and Richard Childress saying that any member of their team would be fired if they chose to protest the national anthem. Petty saying anybody that don't stand for the anthem ought to be out of the country, period. What got them where they're at? The United States. Richard Childress saying protesting would, quote, "get you a ride on a Greyhound bus when the national anthem is over. I told them anyone who works for me should respect the country we live in. So many people gave their lives for it. This is America." And in response to all of this news, Trump tweeted, "So proud of NASCAR and its supporters and fans. They won't put up with disrespecting our country or our flag. They said it loud and clear." Adding, "Many people booed the players who kneeled yesterday, which was a small percentage of total. These are fans who demand respect for our flag." Adding, "The issue of kneeling has nothing to do with race. It is about respect for our country, flag, and national anthem. NFL must respect this." But even in NASCAR, it wasn't all one way or another. One of the biggest names in the sport, Dale Earnhardt Jr., posted a JFK quote on his Twitter, writing, "All Americans are granted rights to peaceful protests. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable." Also in response to the backlash, so many people from the NFL condemning the president's statements, we had Sarah Huckabee Sanders this morning, the White House press secretary, speaking to the press, and she decided to quote General Dempsey. Dempsey had written an op-ed piece called "Why We Stand for the Flag," and she reads it. And also, I'm not going to trim this up for a very specific reason.
"Every man and woman in uniform knows we still have work to do to achieve the equality, opportunity, and justice for all to which we aspire. But every member of the military also knows that what is right about America is worth defending. And if it's worth defending, it's worth honoring." He continued, "I just hope that the athletes who are using the anthem as a protest understand why people like me intend to keep standing during the national anthem."
So just to stop you real quick, Sarah, you might have noticed that Sarah Huckabee Sanders ended a quote and then started a quote somewhere else. And if it's worth defending, it's worth honoring, and I just hope athletes. Here's the thing, there was only one sentence in between those statements. The part that Sarah Huckabee Sanders decided to not quote was when Dempsey said, quote, "I spent my professional life defending individual rights, and I did so with the knowledge that sometimes people would use those rights in ways that might be hurtful or insensitive." That's so weird that Sarah kept that part out. In this, Dempsey 100% puts across why he thinks that people should stand and why he's going to stand, saying we can't fix America unless we acknowledge and protect it. He also argues that he thinks people should honor it, that for the national anthem they'll stand and then go back to debating and arguing. But still, this is about individual rights. So that's the situation as of right now, and as far as where I stand on this for longtime viewers, it's not going to be shocking to you. Just like I said when Kaepernick started doing this, I didn't like it, but I support his right to do it. Freedom of speech and freedom of expression is so incredibly important. It's why on this show I've had to defend some of the most despicable fucking people ever. And I know for some Americans and many people outside of the United States, a lot of people don't understand why there's such a big deal about our flag. For me, the flag is incredibly important because in addition to what I want it to say about our country and freedom and opportunity, it also does represent all those who have given their life for this country. But I'm also of the mindset if we're not free to criticize or free to disrespect in some way, then it doesn't stand for what it's supposed to stand for. Now that said, when we're looking at the situation, Colin Kaepernick and all these people taking knees are not being arrested. And like I said, I'm a big believer in freedom of speech, freedom of expression. People, the consumers, the market, they have the choice to support this thing or not. That's fine. And if Trump had this belief while not being the president of the United States, I think that's fine. But the fact that we're seeing the head honcho, public employee number one, the president of the United States calling for people to be fired because they were using that freedom of speech, that freedom of expression, that's incredibly troublesome to me. But that's where I land on this story. And of course, the Philip DeFranco Show is what it is because it is about the conversation. We have a diverse group of people that watch this thing, are part of the community from different backgrounds, so let me know what you think about this. What do you think about the protests? What do you think about Trump's involvement here as the president of the United States? What do you think about the whole thing in general? Let me know in those comments down below. And that's actually where I'm going to end today's show. And remember, if you liked this video, you like what I try and do on this channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you missed the last Philip DeFranco Show, you want to catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you want to see the newest behind the scenes vlog, click or tap right there to watch that. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love your face, and I'll see you tomorrow.